coming to you live from CBT Studios in the heart of Roseville, California. I'm your host, Matt, and joined with me as always is my co-host,
Roger.
And this is the Cryptid vs. Cryptid podcast. Well, that was fucking lame. Just roll the music. Lackluster intro for our 1-year anniversary of the podcast. Welcome back, everybody. So this episode, for us it's only the 15th, but Wednesday, when the episode comes out, it'll be the 19th, which is officially our 1-year mark for having done the podcast.
It's only been 1 year. Damn. It's felt longer, to be honest. There's been so much shit that's gone on and that we've done, so...
Oh yeah. I mean, and how far and different things are now since we started from going from recording in my bedroom on my desktop, then switching to this garage studio and getting this laptop that we use now, then recording in our own separate rooms on our own computers, and now we're back to recording in the dining room off the laptop in the same room. But yeah, a lot's changed. Thank you, everybody. It's only been a year, and we're already at 3,000 almost 3,000 downloads. I think it's like 2,889 to be exact.
We're almost there. Almost about to break it.
But yeah, you guys have been killing it, downloading our shit and listening to it, which is very much appreciated. And yeah, I mean, today we bounced around a couple ideas for what to do for a 1-year anniversary. So it's going to be a bit more chill. We're going to be remastering our first ever episode because, at least when I listened back, it was a bit of a detriment. Definitely not kind of how we do things today.
It was a lot different, but that then again was also when we first started, so...
Yeah, I mean, we were just finding our footing, especially with almost everything in that first season. At least, like, the first 3 were like, especially the third one. But yeah, we'll be doing that, and at the end, depending on how long it'll take, because it probably won't take as long as like a full hour, thought we could just kick back, think of some questions to answer for ourselves, and just go from there. Usually we do the special episodes, like halfway through the season, but no point of missing our 1-year anniversary and then releasing this when it's already passed. So we'll just do 3 straight episodes after this and then hop into the Cryptid vs. Cryptid mashup and rehash number 4. So everybody, welcome to Bigfoot vs. Mothman Remastered. Do we want to kick it off with Bigfoot or Mothman first?
We'll go with Mothman first.
Alright. I will get us the Mothman history. So my Mothman history is like totally normal in how we do it, but the Bigfoot one is totally fucked.
Yeah, I think maybe the Bigfoot one was a little fucked just because you probably knew a lot more and you're like, okay, yeah, I can talk about this and go on.
So, alleged first sighting from a gravedigger in 1966. They said they saw a man-like figure leaping from trees. A few days later, one of the most popular sightings occurred when 2 couples were driving down a road when they say they were chased by a large creature with glowing red eyes. They drove to the police station to report what they saw, and this story was later published in the local paper, bringing the Mothman story to the small town's attention. Many sightings were later reported, which led to the infamous sighting at the collapse of the Silver Bridge, which tragically took the lives of 46 people. After this event, there were far fewer sightings of the Mothman. There have been more recent sightings in Chicago. A total of 55 sightings have been reported. And I think that covers it for the Mothman history that I wrote up a year ago. But it really covers like a lot of the basic stuff. To delve a little more into that first sighting, because I don't know if we did back then, but when the couples were driving down that road, it was through what the town called the TNT spot, where there is this big TNT plant that they would use to make for mining or during the war and stuff. And so they saw the creature I guess, glide down, had big red eyes, and was just following the car for a while before it sped off and wasn't able to keep up.
I couldn't tell because I remember hearing about this. Like it was on probably like Discovery Channel or something. And I can't remember if it was him gliding down behind the car, which makes more sense, or him like staying in front of the car and just following the car as it goes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was behind, but I'm not too sure. But after that, I know they went to the police. The police went back, couldn't find anything, blah, blah, blah. Now, there's a popular, like, oh, this is proof or an explanation. It was that they were doing parachute testing in the area. And the soldiers who were parachuting had, like, these goggles on or whatever that had, like, red lenses. And so, in the light, it would reflect it to be a red lens. And so that's the explanation for that, and this paratrooper was just fucking with these kids or something. But it's kind of hard, I would say, to not be able to distinguish a paratrooper from a giant
flying
bird creature. Who knows?
Yeah. I think that's more of just like the government trying to cover something up that they can't explain, as they usually do.
But besides that, I mean, there's the Silver Bridge collapse, the Chernobyl power plant explosion. There's another sighting there.
Wasn't there one at 9/11 or something, too?
Yeah, there's people that claim he was there in 9/11. There's another one that I found while I was looking today called the Russian apartment bombings. And so this happened in Moscow. And this is brought forth by the newspaper who says a Russian UFOologist, so like Russia's UFO people, had claimed to have seen the Mothman. So this makes me wonder, does this person think it's a UFO? Because it's a UFOologist seeing this shit. I don't know, I'm just trying to put one and two there together.
I mean, the UFO doesn't have a usual name. Like, that's not the name of it. It just means overall unidentified flying object. So technically, if you can't find out what Mothman is, he's a UFO. But I don't know if they would think it was an alien or something, or if it was a UFO flying saucer, or whatever you want to say. But it'd be kind of weird to think it's a flying saucer when it has two eyes and they're right next to each other.
Yeah, and like kind of feathery wings and stuff. Then the last big one is like more recent times. It's the Chicago one. I think it's like since 2013 or something, there have been reports of humanoid flying creatures that are like similar to the Mothman. But it's been a lot more than like the original Mothman case, where it said like up to 15 sightings have occurred. And I know there's one popular one where these people are in a plane, they're flying to wherever the fuck they need to go, and they see a flying creature, humanoid, flying alongside the plane, which I thought was weird. Kind of hard to explain that one. I mean, it could just be they're freaking out because they don't like heights, so they think they see this and just their mind's rushing and scared. But it's just another one of those interesting things.
Yeah, when I was going through Mothman, I couldn't find anything that wasn't already told. He's pretty well rounded with everything they have said about him. And then you don't want to read too much into it, because then you kind of lose the, oh yeah, this is true, or this is something to think about.
I don't know. I still am not a firm believer in Mothman. I think I brought it up last year when we did this case, that if I am to believe in Mothman, I have one solid theory, and that it's a gargoyle type creature where it kind of just turns to stone and hibernates and only comes out during the tragic events it foresees, which doesn't really explain Chicago that much, because why would it be seen just roaming about so much instead of just hibernating?
Yeah.
Unless it's a completely different creature.
I mean, Mothman did show up a while before the whole bridge collapsed, so it could just be leading to something that's gonna happen in Chicago. What it is, I don't know.
I think the Chicago ones could be some other type of cryptid. More akin to like Owlman, who doesn't really have that, oh, I can predict tragedy kind of thing going on. And so he just goes about doing whatever the fuck he wants. And not really like a Mothman thing. But it's still definitely to consider when you talk about Mothman. Do we have any other stories for him?
Not that I think of.
Okay. I guess we can go over the stats for our remaster. And I know when we said after the Cryptid mashup and rehash, we would never change the stats.
Yeah. It was more not to bring them in, though. Like, back into a fight and change them. So this is kind of just like a one-off episode, so...
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't plan on ever bringing him back, bringing Bigfoot back when we do the rehash. It's like when we do our bonus episodes, we never really include the bonus characters. I guess we'll take a look at the stats. So abilities, flight, future sight, radio wave disturbance, talons. And I think we gave it radio wave disturbance because another story that I brought up last year when we did this,
he was messing with the television.
the television and the guy,
Yeah.
and then his dog like disappeared.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and obviously last year we didn't have the characteristics tab, so that's why this is kind of like talons is mixed in with future sight, radio wave disturbance.
Yeah, big red eyes. So he's not like the statue in
Yeah, we should get that out of the
Point
way.
Pleasant. He, as he's usually depicted, his arms are his wings. Like, his wings kind of just cover him up. And then he has basically... Does he have the head of him? No. It's just like a...
I mean...
It just depends on which one you go with. Because there's ones that are like... It goes with where he has the wings in the back and he has arms. But
Yeah.
he has big red eyes and then the two fucking fluff spikes on his head.
When it comes to like looks, at least for the head, I don't really think there's a solid answer besides like the big red eyes and
Because I don't think
things
anyone's
like
really
that.
said or seen this thing in the light.
Yeah,
up
in
close.
any good kind of light. So I would say it probably has like moth-like facial features, but big red eyes are really the only ones that we could count on for sure. But with that out of the way, stats. So we gave it an intelligence of 6. Now, I want to definitely talk about changing this one.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to be higher, like an 8 or a 9.
I was thinking an 8. I wouldn't go a 9, but definitely an 8 is somewhere he should be. Because being able to see the future is already like a big one-up in intelligence. Because you already know what's going to happen, so there's no consequence to you if it's on you.
Not only that, but it almost seemingly is trying to warn people of these oncoming events. Like the Silver Bridge collapse, people said they saw it there, and maybe it's trying to warn people by being there. I know there was a report of a mine collapse, and the miners said to have seen Mothman like blocking the entrance to the cave.
Yeah,
so they
that
couldn't
was
get
like...
in.
That was one of the first sightings, I think, too, is that the miners came and they saw him, and then they fucking hightailed that in there and then
Yeah.
collapsed.
I think it's that one in Chernobyl are like two of the earliest sightings, and he was there perched up in Chernobyl and supposedly scared away people from entering to go to work. So not only can he see it, but he can interpret it and tries to warn people, which to me shows a higher level of intelligence than just a 6.
Yeah.
So you're okay with going with an 8 then?
Yeah.
All right, our first official restat change in our series of remastering old episodes. Now next, we gave him a power of 7, which personally I think it fits.
Yeah. He's not buff or anything. He's just kind of...
Yeah, and personally, I could almost lower it down to a 6, just because his really only attacking... Because if we give him the Mothman face, or the face of a moth, he isn't going to have a beak or anything.
Well,
so he
no,
really
still
only has his talons.
He still has a beak. In some depictions.
Depictions.
He has like the... He doesn't have like a long beak. It's more of like
just like a smaller...
What is it? Penguin? No. You
Like
know the ones where it's like kind of like a round.
Yeah,
just
I know what you're talking about.
Small.
But I mean, his only attackings are his talons and then a small beak. So if you don't want to change it, I totally understand and we won't. But I could almost drop it down a point to a 6.
Yeah, I just still think he's a little stronger than a 6. Because, I don't know, what did we have for base human? That was like a 5, wasn't it?
I think it's a 5, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think he's a little up there in strength compared to a human.
That's fair. Then we gave him a defensive 6, which personally I think it fits.
Yeah. I can almost go lower, to be honest.
So could I. Because, I mean, once again, he's that bird. Okay, let's propose this. Obviously, hollow bones. But if he's a moth, he should have an exoskeleton instead of inner bone structure.
It's not like he's fully moth, though. We don't know what he is. He's just a flying creature. And they just call him Mothman. But he has, like, things you can see as a moth. But some,
like
obviously,
features.
moths aren't covered in fur from head to toe with wings covered too. So he's like this weird mixture of everything like that. So he's not full moth.
No.
And I think he would have to have hollow bones lugging himself around with those wings. So.
Yeah. Then do you want to lower it or just keep it the same?
Lower it. What is it? It's a 6.
It's a 6 right now.
Honestly, maybe a 5 or 4.
I think I'm comfortable going with a 5. Like, I think that's a safe bet. So we'll change it to a 5. Mobility of 8.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that's fine. Just because he doesn't really have any ground coverage. There's talks of him being seen on the ground from what I've read, but no,
he's
like
usually
running
standing,
super fast. Yeah.
And then his more of why we gave him an 8 was because he can glide and he can jump up really fast. And he can't fly, and that's why it's not a 10. So
going back to the gliding thing, another sighting was a recent one where he saw something gliding from tree to tree. So that seems to be like more of his thing, super fast gliding, and like you said, getting up trees really fast. I would say if he had good ground coverage, I could bump him up, but it's like we said, you only see him just standing on the ground.
And if everyone's gonna bring up the whole plane one too, we're not really taking that as Mothman either.
I mean, looking at those cases, it doesn't seem like Mothman.
Just because fuck's gonna happen in Chicago.
If that happens, then we'll come back and we'll remaster the remaster.
We'll talk about it. We'll be like, well, maybe we should give Mothman a little more.
Yeah, but those sightings just don't fit his MO. And besides, like, it being a similar shape, there's nothing else there that says Mothman. Don't take the plane one into account. Also, don't birds keep up with planes occasionally?
Yeah. They'll kind of. I don't think they really get close to them.
No.
They don't. They can't. But yeah, I think they probably do.
All right. Mobility staying in an 8. HP of 5.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't see him being any stronger or weaker.
And finally, we'll finish it out with stealth of 9.
I think we didn't give him a 10 just because of how many sightings he's had, and he wants to be seen more
deliberate sightings. I don't know if I would take, the more and more we do this, when it comes to things wanting to be seen, I almost feel like that shouldn't detract from stealth. But at the same time, there's sightings here that it's like he's trying to be sneaky, but he gets seen. Like the first big sighting of him chasing the couple, like that doesn't seem like you wanted to make a scene there. Like you were trying to stalk the prey and they found you. Then we talk about the one in the forest where the dude opens the door and his dog runs out. He can see the eyes in the forest. So while I would agree it's very stealthy and it's got few and far between sightings, I still don't think it hits that pinnacle of 10 like the Chupacabra.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's quite at 10 level yet. He is close. He's at a 9 for sure, but he's not at a 10.
And that rounds up our least like cryptid on the Cryptid versus Cryptid show. We'll re-go over our remastered stats here. Intelligence of 8, power of 7, defense of 5, mobility of 8, HP of 5, stealth 9. He's definitely a lot more well-rounded now that we've redone the stats.
Yeah, I think we kind of fucked him up just because we thought we put him out more as a bird and everything. And we didn't really think about all the future sightings and all that. So I kind of fucked him.
The really big part where I feel like we fumbled was the intelligence.
Yeah.
Like an intelligence of 6 makes him like borderline just regular, like a dog level of intelligence. And now we move on to the man, the myth, the legend, Bigfoot, aka Sasquatch. You want to take us away with the history?
First brought to large public attention in the 1950s when a reader had sent in a letter and was sent to Humboldt Times talking about loggers who had found large prints in the ground. In 1970s, Bigfoot was portrayed as a sexual predator.
Damn, that was all I wrote.
Yeah, and there's something about native trappers where I was like, I don't know if I should That's what I remember. I don't think we really went into history with him.
No.
And if we did, it was more of you just knowing the history of him.
I mean, there's just an ungodly amount of sightings of Bigfoot. There's a lot of...
There's like almost 18,000 in North Carolina alone.
Obviously, we can talk about the most influential sighting that we talked a lot about on when we first did the episode, which is... I don't know why it's not coming to my name. I have it pulled up here on my phone somewhere. Fuck. The Patterson-Gimlin film. Mm-hmm. There we go. And I mean, famously, I've been quoted as saying Bigfoot titties in that first episode by a lot of my friends at work. But I mean, it is the most influential case.
Yeah.
Or it's sighting of any Bigfoot.
It's also kind of what started it all in the first place, too.
Oh,
Besides
it really
the
is.
footprints, it's what started it.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially back then, because a lot of it was just hearsay. Some person would say they saw it, another person would say they saw it, and then you got Patterson over here coming out with this videotape of this gorilla-looking thing walking through the forest. Yeah. It totally changed the Bigfoot landscape forever. And then now you get people, quote-unquote, doing the same thing. And I mean, I say that giving credit to Patterson and Gimlin, like giving validity to their film, which... even I have doubts about, because delving a little into it, I know after the video cuts, they try to track the Bigfoot on horseback for miles, and the footprints just disappear, which can lead to many theories of it climbed a tree to help lose its trail and was just going around like that, or was hiding, all the way to Bigfoot being an extra-dimensional creature that after a while slipped back into its own dimension, and that's why they lost the tracks. You kind of just gotta come to your own conclusion and believability on that.
Yeah, the whole going to a different dimension is like a really weird thought. It's possible, but it's also really weird. And if he was climbing a tree, let's be honest, how do you miss a fucking almost 10-foot person in a tree?
And I mean, Bigfoot's no skunk ape, but he still doesn't smell good. Just to touch on it real quick, I know like a big thing people talk about when they talk about this case are the breasts or the tits on the Bigfoot. And usually I'd be like, yeah, like that'd be weird to put tits on your Bigfoot costume if you're trying to fake it. But Patterson wrote a book talking about Bigfoot sometime before this, and with illustrations. And the illustration of the Bigfoot in the book also had tits. So if it is fake, it wouldn't... I mean, it's not that far off to think the guy who wrote this book talking about like Bigfoots and shit, it's not far off to think that he would use a Bigfoot costume with breasts, because he's done it before just for a book. So I really don't think it's like, oh shit, it has tits. Why would you think to do that?
Well,
That's
did you
weird.
make the book after the sighting or
Before the sighting.
Oh, yeah, that'd be really weird too.
I really want to do an episode just deep diving into Patterson and Gimlin, because there is a lot there, and a lot of it, I would say, can help debunk the footage and maybe not debunk it. But I don't think we have enough time on this episode to just fully deep dive into it and then continue doing the episode. So we can kind of move from there, unless you got anything else you want to say about it.
No, I have a lot of stories and like sightings of him that are like, they seem a lot more real than some of the sightings you get. And they have videos, but it's more of like aftermath of shit.
Okay. We can hop into some of those.
The first one I have that I saw, I forgot his name. Why did I forget his name? I forgot his name, but this guy was in his log cabin and he heard a roar and he kept hearing it and he was like, what the fuck's going on? And finally he went out and looked at like the morning after, because he's a smart guy, not going out at night to look for this fucking thing. He found the famous Bigfoot tracks that are like 9 inches long.
Yeah,
and
the famous prints. Okay.
And so he plastered them, and he has like a famous photo of him with the print right by his face.
I know who you're talking about, yeah.
And then there's another guy, Roger Pill, I think is what his name was. Or no, it was something Green. But Green was an ex-military man, and so he knew a bunch about survival and all that, and so he would go camping. And when he first went camping, he'd heard this roar and heard leaves rustling around and stomps and stuff until finally the creature went up to him, and he's still in his tent, by the way, and he just sits there. And then he roars again, like this was an ear-piercing roar, and then runs off.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up a tent story, because I want to dive into a little story of my own. So originally, to you listeners, I wanted to bring on a guest today, have a third person in the seat for our anniversary special, but it just didn't work out that way. But I wanted to bring him on because we were hanging out last night, and he told me a recent Bigfoot story of his own. And if this came from almost anybody else, I'd kind of just brush it off and be like, yeah, you know I do my podcast, you know I'm into this shit, you're just trying to be funny or whatever. But I really trust this guy, like, a lot. And he was telling me this story, and so he was hanging out with another friend of ours at his birthday party. And they were all drinking, partying. Cameron and another friend of ours stayed the night, but there wasn't any room, like, in the house because their house is a mess. So they brought a, like, tent and just camped out in the yard.
This at Peyton's house, I'm guessing?
Yeah, his mom's house. And to give some context for you guys, our buddy Peyton's house is kind of a little bit farther back into the woods. And it kind of just sits on, like, this empty plot on top of a hill. All down the hill is just forest, and it leads down to a small little stream / kind of riverway, and then it's just forest and forest. And I've been down in the forest. They're creepy as fuck. You hear weird noises. That's just how it is. So hopping back into the story, now that you have context of the area, our buddy Cameron is kind of like in and out of sleep. He's still a little drunk, but he's still conscious and aware of what's going on around him. Says he hears some like rustling. So he thinks somebody's just fucking with him, so he's like, whatever, I'm gonna go back to bed. Then he hears it getting closer, and it's just the trees rustling. And my buddy Peyton said he has felt like, or seen like, feline creatures, feline animals, like around his house, so he thought maybe that was it. So he just ignored it because it was just in the tree area. Well, then he starts to hear the grass rustling, and he's getting like a little kind of freaked out, trying to wake our other buddy up. But our other buddy's super fucking wasted, and so he can't get him up. And so our buddy Cameron's kind of just like freaking out, like what's going on. So he's still just trying to like block it out, go to bed. Then he tells me the most interesting part. Like in the story you just told, this thing goes up to the tent and kind of just pushes it, either pushes on it, sits on it, whatever, but just pushes the tent down into our buddy Cameron and our other friend. And Cameron's like freaking out. So being the crazy son of a bitch he is, he just punches at whatever's doing it, thinking maybe it's just Peyton pulling a prank or something, but he goes like and just punches it as hard as he can. And he said it was really tough, and it kind of felt like it was hairy. And he also said it was hairy because like the sound it made when it pushed on it just sounded like
a brush.
A brush.
Yeah.
After he punches it, the thing just gets up and darts back into the forest until Cameron can't hear anymore. He starts freaking out, finally wakes up our buddy that woke up to like whatever was going on.
Yeah.
They talk, and then they either go back to bed, I don't know how, or Cameron and them take off. He didn't really tell me about the very end, but
yeah,
that was his story. And I was like,
that's a pretty good story.
Fucking creeped me out a little bit, because it's like, I trust Cameron, and I believe him. He wouldn't just bullshit about this stuff. I mean, he genuinely believes it, and so I'm going to believe it, because he's my friend, and I know he wouldn't bullshit about this kind of stuff with me.
This other one, the other camping one, I think a few months pass, and then he goes camping with his friends again in the forest, and it's the same one. And that's when that video I showed you of the thermal one.
The thermal?
Yeah, he left that out on his tent because they were hearing noises and stuff.
Okay.
And that's what they caught. It was just Bigfoot kind of, or quote unquote Bigfoot, just wandering around through trees. And I think they got a size on him. I didn't read that far into it, but he's like, yeah, I can judge how tall this thing was based on that video and all that.
But yeah, no, that camping story you told, there's some similarities there between our buddy's story and that story, which kind of is just like, ooh, kind of creepy. Yeah.
There was this video I saw that my girlfriend showed me. It was of like a hairy creature, it seemed like. It was like just like a black figure. You couldn't really tell what it was because it was like at that point where it was sunrise, where you couldn't see the sun anymore, but it was still kind of light out.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing's walking through this, like, tall grass that's all yellow and everything, and it's just, like, casually walking through. And they're videotaping it. They're on, like, their porch or whatever. Or I think they're even farther out, which I don't know why you'd be farther out from this fucking thing. They videotape it, and then they finally yell at it. And that's when the thing kind of jolts at them and, like, runs at them. And then they run back a little bit, and the thing continues to walk. And then, for some reason, they just got the decision to throw a rock at it. And so they threw a rock at it, and this thing fucking charges at them. Like, full, on all fours, is literally running and charging at them. And they're like, oh shit, and it just kind of goes to that blurry, oh, we're running away.
Yeah.
Until they get into the house, and then they videotape him. He would, like, walk away, walk a few feet, then charge at it again, then walk. He just keeps circling the house. And it was like, I looked at the video, I was like, holy shit, that's actually kind of terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I would be the guy to do something like that, but I know I'm not that retarded to provoke a Bigfoot. Because while they're seemingly, like, passive creatures, I mean, there's stories of them fucking murking shit. And, like, when Devin was on, and he told us the story of how that giant tree branch just got impaled through the truck window, like, I wouldn't want to fuck with these guys. I don't know, it just seems stupid to try and provoke it.
Yeah.
If anything...
I don't get, like, I'm active to be able to find something, but if there's something hella, like, unexplainable walking in front of my house, I'm not gonna fucking throw something at it. Like,
yeah.
I've heard stories of people, just off topic, like, people with, like, these wolves, and they have a name, they're like Miori or something, wolves, and they're like 8-foot wolves that stand on their hind legs and shit. And this whole story is terrifying, and this guy is provoking him, trying to go get his guns, and he's going out, and I'm like, why would you just stay in the house, dude, all night?
Yeah, really. That's giving me some Wolfman / Wendigo vibes.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it's like, if it were me, I'd at least hope I would have the courage to try and get closer, but not, like, freak it out or make it aware of me. I
want to get at least 50 feet within this. Like, if I break the 50-foot barrier, I have to know that he's not hostile at that point. Because at that point, I'm just zooming in on it with my camera and videotaping it.
Exactly. But I don't know. That's creepy as fuck. I don't... In what mind would you want to try and provoke a creature like Bigfoot?
I'll try and find it. I'll see if my girlfriend can find it, and then I'll send it to you. Because that video, to me, I was like, why? What the fuck is that?
Yeah, if you guys are interested, for this episode, I plan on just dropping hella Bigfoot evidence videos in our show notes down in the description of the episode, so feel free to check those out. So, before we finish anything off, I have like a top 10 Bigfoot evidence list here. A lot of them are videos. We watched a couple of them. But I'm just going to go through. We're going to quickly be like, is this good? Is this bad? Give a quick rundown on our thoughts.
Yeah. Is it the same website I was probably looking at?
It's on theoutside.com. Outsideonline.com. So here, description. A youth group was camping in the Marble Mountains wilderness when leader Jim Mills noticed a strange-looking creature skulking along a ridge nearby. He filmed it for nearly 7 minutes, making the somewhat grainy footage the longest video of an alleged Bigfoot sighting. Here's our still image.
Holy shit. Yeah, no, that's exactly, in that TikTok video, that's almost what that thing looked like, except for you couldn't see its legs as well.
I mean, it's definitely got a kind of bulky figure. And you kind of got to give it leeway, because it is pretty far away.
It's got, like, the bulky top, like, midsection, and then long legs.
Yeah. But at the same time, play devil's advocate here. Grainy footage, long away. It looks like the sun, because, like, the ground's all blacked out, so the sun isn't really on their side.
Well, here, let me see that. It's kind of... So, at some point, when you're on a camera and you're videotaping, there gets to a point where the sun can go down, and if you're on the... Like, there's a hill going up, and you're, like, midway, and you can't see the sun anymore, it can get like that.
Yeah.
It can get towards that dark. Now, you should be able to still see some shininess, but... being zoomed in probably cancels that out.
I don't know, just this one doesn't really do it for me personally, even though I am a Bigfoot advocate, just because it's so far away. The figure's pitch black, which if we could see more color in here and the figure was still pitch black, then I'd be like, okay, it might just be a Bigfoot. But because you can't see any color, you can't really distinguish if it's got clothing on or not. Which is like, this could just be some fucking weirdo walking down the hill.
Yeah.
Grandpa's out on his fucking evening walk. Don't know why he'd be in the mountains for an evening walk, but you know. Here we have a Yeti footprint in 2014. We can just...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of small for a Yeti footprint.
I think whenever you look up Bigfoot, they kind of connect Yeti and skunk ape and any other Bigfoot.
Okay, here's the one. It's called the Independence Day film. This remarkably clear video shows an alleged adult Bigfoot walking through the woods with a cub in its arms. The filmmaker and exact locations are unknown, and many skeptics claim that there is a telling visible seam of a gorilla suit. So I did show you this one. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Now, it could have been believable, but when he looked at that camera, it didn't look like a suit, per se. I mean, I guess you can see it as a suit. It kind of looked like it was animated in. Yeah. It looked like a kind of CGI, it's in there. But
here's my thing. Bigfoot looks directly at the camera, which means he has seen this human just standing there watching him. And we know from a lot of evidence or stories that Bigfoot get provoked. They're going to run away or run at you. You could say it's got a cub, so it's not going to attack. But it would run away, especially if it has its child with it.
If it has a cub, it wouldn't run away. Because most animals and everything... When you have something, like a kid or something, and someone's looking at it and doing sketchy shit, you automatically go after them. And you either fight them or provoke them or make them run away.
Okay.
But this guy, he didn't, which is weird.
He kind of just keeps just strolling along.
Yeah. Now, he did go and grab the child and then run away.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem like an entirely Bigfoot thing to do.
And still, just seeing the face and looking directly at the camera just makes me... I don't know. And then it's grainy, but it's still one of the best looking ones, and it's got plenty of color. But I don't know. I'd really have to.
It's also his height kind of seemed off too. It seemed a lot more like
the child seems big, but the Bigfoot I almost feel like the cub, is already half the size, if not more, of that Bigfoot.
Yeah, it seems like it was almost like a leg at least.
Yeah,
but it just seemed like that the adult one was too short.
It's not like that 8 to 9 foot usual height we hear for Bigfoot. And then it talks about a visible seam. I didn't see one because of how grainy it is, but apparently people do, whether it's skeptics or whatnot.
You probably zoom in enough, it'd be like, oh yeah, this is it.
Here we got, in October 2012, a group of siblings hiking in Provo Canyon thought they spotted a bear in the woods and started filming. When the creature stood up on 2 legs, the hikers ran, abruptly ending the shaky video. A year later, the siblings launched a Kickstarter campaign to investigate other Utah Bigfoot sightings. Here's our little picture. Not that grainy, but here's the thing. So they think they see a bear, then they see it stand up on its hind legs, and they run away.
I don't know, that can look like Bigfoot. I can see how it looks like a bear, kind of, because I kind of see the ears. But, if you look through that little circle branch right there, now obviously viewers can't see, but that looks like the Bigfoot face you would usually see, like a depicted Bigfoot face.
Yeah. My thing that kind of turns me off is they see it stand on its hind legs, which bears are known to be able to stand on their hind legs and do things like that. So I would need, an image, maybe in the video, which they seemingly do catch it standing on its hind legs. Maybe if I saw that, I could put more believability into it, but right now I can't. And then you read they try to start a Kickstarter campaign, and that's almost just says cash grab to me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That...
Yeah, no, that's a little weird, but, I guess seeing something stand on its hind legs, if you know what it looks like bears are obvious. They have shorter arms. They're not going to be longer arms. Now, if they saw that and it had long arms and long legs, and it kind of went from I'm looking like a bear to I'm fucking 4 times taller than you.
Yeah. I don't know. When the Kickstarter thing get brought up, I mean, whenever we talk about cryptids and stuff and people make money off of their sightings and stuff, it kind of just depends on your view of whether or not you think they're making these stories up to profit, because like that can be disingenuous, but at the same time they also have these extraordinary stories and events that happen to them. Why wouldn't you want to try to make some awareness and make some money while doing it?
Yeah.
So it kind of just depends on personal view. I think if you just start a Kickstarter campaign, that's kind of weak, and it's kind of just like, we have this one possible thing.
That kind of almost makes it believable too, because it's not like I'm making this entire research facility on this, and I'm gonna put money on it, and hopefully have you guys pay money and stuff. And that's
true.
What kind of makes it a little more believable.
Yeah,
at the same time,
because it's like that skunk ape guy who saw something and then like made a whole research lab and gift shop and all this garbage. Mm-hmm. All right, here we have another one. In 2007, hunter Rick Jacobs captured some of the most famous Bigfoot image to date with a camera mounted on a tree in Pennsylvania's Allegheny National Forest. His camera also captured clear photos of bear cubs, offering evidence that the unidentified, unidentified animal was not ursine, but skeptics believe the animal is just a bear sick with mange. Here's our picture. I think the limbs are too lanky in that image to be a bear with mange.
What the fuck?
And just the way it's moving in that does not look like a bear.
No. If you look at those legs, that looks like... Because bears, like I said, bears fucking arms and legs, they're not that big. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I guess it could be that they have more fat on there, up there.
Yeah.
But, like, that looks like a human leg almost. That's almost believable right there. That's really weird.
I think out of everything that we've gone through on this list, this one definitely just, I don't know. Yeah. It looks like this could be a Bigfoot. Like, genuinely. Like, I'm going to link this in the description of this website so people can check it out. But definitely check out the Rick Jacobs photo. I think out of a lot of Bigfoot evidence I've seen over the years, because I've seen this one before, this is definitely like up there, like top 5, top 3 pieces of evidence, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We just got another track. Locals in Jonestown, Pennsylvania were baffled by a footprint measuring 17.75 inches found near a residential home in 1980. According to the Associated Press, the footprint coincided with reports of strange noises and a strong but unusual odor in the area.
I think this one also might have been just different news, but they also had their foundation, like because they had like a log cabin, I think, if it's the right one I'm thinking of, and their foundation of their log cabin was shaking because this guy was shaking their house and shit.
God damn.
Yeah. And then they found that footprint leading out when they went the next morning.
Oh man, there is still 3 more to cover. We're just about at 50 minutes, so try and speed through these last ones. This one's a pretty famous one too, the Paul Freeman footage. In 1994, former U.S. Forest Patrolman Paul Freeman claimed he saw a family of Bigfoots in Washington's Blue Mountains. The video is shaky and grainy, but is deemed the real deal by so-styled Bigfoot experts. Here's our grainy image. I've seen the video proof of this one. I couldn't, because I was trying to show you.
Oh, I've seen it.
Okay, you've seen it? Mm-hmm. But I could not find it on YouTube for some reason, and this website refuses to link the videos anywhere. But, I mean, it's pretty good.
That's really grainy. I would have
to see the problem with it. I'll try and find the video and post it, because I do think it's good. The big problem is, though, it's just so grainy, and I'd have to because I've heard about this guy many times, and I've heard some real iffy stuff when it comes to this guy and his quote-unquote evidence. There's just a lot of stuff that he's done that you could use to debunk his Bigfoot claims and proof. So I'm really just kind of on the fence. I'm more of a not believing in this evidence kind of side for this, but, you know.
Yeah.
It's still not bad. I mean, the video's definitely entertaining to watch and try to wrap your head around. Okay, this one is good. I've shown you guys this video before. You remember when we were originally doing this last year, and I showed you guys the video of the Bigfoot ripping bark off the tree?
Yeah, I remember that one. Mm-hmm.
This is the video. Mississippi resident John Highcliffe captured a video of this potential Bigfoot while hunting in his property in 2013. Afraid to go back to the woods, he posted the footage to YouTube asking for help to identify the animal or for a prankster to come forward. Here's our image. I don't know how well you remember it.
I remember this one.
But this is also probably in my top 10 to top 5 range for Bigfoot evidence.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There's no like sign of a zipper on the back too, which is like okay, well obviously it can't look like a fucking suit as much.
And my big thing is I have once again found this video on YouTube, so I'll try to remember to link it down below in the description for everybody. But he's ripping off bark on this tree, and it's not a dead tree, so the bark isn't just going to come off with a good tear. It's going to take a lot of strength to rip this shit off. And if you're wearing a suit,
It's even
yes,
harder.
while it has gloves, you can't really get that good grip on like with a rubber suit on.
Yeah, that, and it's also like usually gloves too. They give you more grip, but they also make you like lose to where you can grab stuff a lot more.
And then that brings us to our last one. I don't know if I've seen this one before. A hiker was walking through the Utah hills near Provo Canyon in 2012 when he spotted a large animal in the woods. As he approached, the animal stood up on 2 legs and started throwing rocks at him, supposedly a trademark behavior for Sasquatches. Now, in the photo, you kind of just see it kneeling down. Definitely the 2 highlights here, in my opinion. One, we have another Bigfoot yet again in Utah, which is the second one to happen on this list. And then he starts throwing rocks and engaging, which coincides with some other stories. One that you told, we have it again here. It's got that upper echelon of intelligence that Bigfoot are noted to have of throwing objects and using objects. I definitely have to watch it before I give it my stamp of approval for the evidence, but reading the description of the video so far, I'm kind of leaning towards it.
Yeah, that photo is pretty good for it because it does show movable legs at least.
And while it is grainy, I wouldn't say it's some of the worst grain we've seen.
It's not like that one photo where it's
not this the third one from Paul Freeman. With our list of Bigfoot evidence that we went over, let's hop into Bigfoot's abilities and stats. That's Mothman. I read Flight and I was like, not a Bigfoot ability.
Bigfoot can fly. He'll make a fucking glider.
Abilities: whistling, running speed roughly 40 miles an hour, extreme strength, able to throw up to 450 pounds, small tool usage, average height and weight, 7'10" is the average height, and his average weight is 650 pounds. Starting off with stats, we have intelligence of 6 is what we gave him.
I want to move it up, but I don't know if he's at like a 7 range for intelligence. He's smarter than Dog, obviously. But there's other areas where he's not smart, so
I think we should move it up to a 7. Here's my argument. While, it's got the whistling, that's a form of communication that it has. It's got supposed tree knocking, which is kind of controversial, but I would give it to him. And then, obviously, it's growls and howls and groans. So, in my opinion, that's like 3 forms of communication, which the tree knocking kind of being more of a long-range communication, because that noise can be a lot louder, echo a lot farther than a whistling or a growl.
yeah.
On top of that, small tool usage, it knows to throw rocks and stuff to defend itself. But that's my argument for a 7.
Yeah, I can see him moving to a 7, I guess, with all that in front of me.
Alright, Bigfoot goes up to a 7. And then we had our first ever 10 stat of the entire series with power of 10. Any changes?
No, that's getting insane.
And then defense of 7.
Yeah, I don't think that will change too much.
Neither do I, just because it's got the fur, it's got the big build, and it's got a lot of muscle. It's kind of got that mountain man / farmer muscle where they just work or out doing their thing all day, so they just have crazy strength and musculature. So he's definitely got that armor there with the fur on top of it. He just doesn't have any kind of like extra resiliences for me to want to move him up.
Yeah.
Then we have mobility of 7, which I think is fine.
That's fine.
The only thing, not that I am arguing to move it up, because I think 7's fine. I think if you were to make an argument, though, you could say, like, maybe he can climb trees, which could give him the boost. And There are some reports of them swimming across like small rivers or shallow rivers, but it's nothing that's like insanely fast.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if a flying creature was just able to walk across the land level.
Yeah, I don't know if that would really move it up, because it would be like if we would have to give Mothman that to move up too, because he can walk on land.
He would just walk normally. So nothing really.
It's not something where you would want to move him up. Climbing trees is a big one, but I don't know how fast he can do it. That's the thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, while he has these tools available to him, there's no real definitive to be like, yes, he has them and he's great at them. It's just like, yeah, he's average at moving across these other landmarks, which is good to have that ability, but it doesn't move your base up at all. HP of 8.
Yeah, that's fine. We kind of hit Bigfoot a lot on the money. There are some changes we need to make, but...
Yeah. And then lastly, stealth of 7.
I can keep that. The only thing that would drop his stealth for me is that he does leave a lot of tracks, being the big fella that he is.
Yeah.
There's always someone saying, oh yeah, I found these tracks of him that are always the same 9 inches.
And he seemingly gets caught a lot on film.
Yeah.
So I'd almost be willing to drop it down to a 6. But if you play to his advantages, dark fur, mainly in forests, especially at night, he's going to blend in really well. And if you cut out a lot of the fat when it comes to the evidence, just the shit that's obviously fake, I imagine, like, a lot, there's way fewer legitimate sightings.
Yeah, and if they are, they're usually, you can't really see them as well, because he's hiding behind all this stuff.
And he's always just disappearing constantly from, like, the frame of the camera and the person's eyesight, and then just popping up somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that concludes Bigfoot Remastered stats, which there really wasn't much to change. Like you said, I think we really hit it out of the park with nailing most of his stats. So a quick rehash: Intelligence 7, Power 10, Defense 7, Mobility 7, HP 8, Stealth 7. A truly rounded character here. Really shines in the power. Everything else is above average to a good extent. And usually this is the part of the show where we would talk about a fight, but do you think much would change in a fight with these two having remastered stats?
No, even with Mothman's remastered stats, I don't really see him winning too much of this. Bigfoot's defense just is too high, his health too high, his power's way too high, and Mothman's not strong enough to change that.
And I think even with Mothman's remastered intelligence, I would say maybe he goes like a couple extra, like maybe another minute or two in the room with Bigfoot.
It's also, while we enhanced Mothman's intelligence, on the other hand, we enhanced Bigfoot's intelligence too. Yeah. And so it really didn't change all that much.
It changes a little, just because I would say, we went up 2 points for Mothman and only 1 for Bigfoot. Yeah. We really had them at the same level of intelligence, I just realized, which is baffling. Yeah, it's only like a slight advantage now going into it for Mothman. That's why I think maybe he survives a little longer, gets off 1 extra hit, but I still, to this day, wouldn't back down from our opinion that Bigfoot would just destroy Mothman.
No, he fucking obliterated him.
Plus, we can't do our OG Cryptid versus Cryptid champion like that and just throw him under the bus and have bitch-ass Mothman coming in for the win now.
No, when we death battle out here? Changing fights.
Nope, we stick true to our guns no matter what anybody says or has counterpoints for. Mothman would get obliterated. And with that out of the way, in our first full Cryptid vs. Cryptid remaster episode / anniversary episode out of the way, I thought for a second, before we round it out, because we have hit an hour, we could talk about our favorite and least favorite episodes so far. And I know, at least for the latter, we still agree on the worst episode we've ever recorded.
I don't think that'll ever change unless we have an even worse episode.
The Dovarku versus the Megaconda.
Just so much went wrong with that episode.
Obviously, we've done some dull episodes since that one, but that was the original, this episode is just so bland, so dull.
There's just nothing, there's no substance to it at all.
No.
Because you look at Wendigo and Dogman, that had a lot of substance there with the fucking creepy photo and all that. And then right after that, Goatman and fucking Chupacabra had even more substance to it. And so it just makes that episode look like complete shit.
The funny thing is, no matter how much shit we talk about this episode, no matter how much we put it down, it's still up there as one of our most popular.
What's our top 5?
Okay, yeah, give me 1 second. Our top 5 episodes. The OG Bigfoot versus Mothman.
I don't think that'll ever change the first one.
Up to 386 individual downloads. Our second episode is Michigan Dogman versus Wendigo. So episode 1 and 2, you know, our 2 most popular, which isn't all that surprising. They've been 2 of our longest ones out. Michigan Dogman versus Wendigo had some really good stories, some really good context. We started getting our footing there.
And also had a good fight with it too, which added to it.
And the Bigfoot versus Mothman is the original, the first episode. While I wouldn't say I'm proud of the quality of the episode,
it was still a good episode for a first episode.
Yeah, it's good for the first, and it's the one everybody's going to flock to, unfortunately. I'll just go in and change the audio out with this episode.
Hey, we'll add on to this episode. They'll be like, oh shit, it's out. And then all the viewers come back to that one.
Exactly. Our third most popular episode is where things start to get different. Werewolf versus Vampire, Cryptid versus Cryptid, Holiday Special.
That one's already top 3.
Top 3.
Holy shit.
Which is not all that surprising to me.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even before it was out, we were talking about Werewolf versus Vampire for a long time. Like, this has to be our Halloween episode, blah, 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 blah.
It hit way different to where you're like, yeah, this is the one where you have to have this as something because it's too big.
But yeah, that one is number 3. It broke to the top 3. Do you have any guess for what top 4 is, or number 4?
Just lay it on me. Just lay it on me.
Not one I'm happy about, but it's just how it is. Rake versus Tiki Toby, Cryptid versus Cryptid Special, Episode 1. Our creepypasta episode. Which I'm half and half on, because the Rake is cool. I remember growing up listening to stories of the Rake and stuff. But then you get Tiki Toby, and part of me is honestly just, cringe.
That one was like, it was good because Rake was in it, and then Tiki Toby also got obliterated by the Rake, so...
I will say there was one thing cool to come out of this episode. There's like, I don't know if they're a podcast or just a website for creepypastas, but they gather information from podcasts and YouTube videos and like make these playlists that, oh yeah, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this for information on these creepypastas. Our podcast episode going over the history of Tiki Toby was put into one of their playlists to use as one of their sources for information. So I think that's
Tiki Toby, not even for the Rake.
Not even for the Rake, just for Tiki Toby. So I think that's where a lot of the popularity comes from this episode, is because people are finding us from there. What scares me is that this episode is really close to being third.
Oh my God.
It's only 2 downloads away from beating Werewolf versus Vampire. And then one that I'm proud of at number 5 is Cryptid Mashup and Rehash, Cryptid versus Cryptid, Episode 5. Our first mashup and rehash.
Where's my favorite episode? You already know which one it is. I just need to know where it is on the list.
Let's see, is there a sort by most popular? You're looking for...
The Goatman versus El Chupacabra.
Okay, we have... So
there's
there's
go in
top 7.
Let's go. That's all that matters. It's not too far behind.
Another good one, which is almost at the top 5 spot, is Jersey Devil versus Thunderbird.
That is a good one.
That's a very popular episode. It was blowing up. Almost as soon as we put it out, it started blowing up.
We've also been talking about the Jersey Devil a lot, too.
Yeah,
because
especially
we were like,
recently.
we're sorry we can't do the Skinwalker versus the Jersey Devil, and then finally we got them on.
Plus, I mean, I think that was a really good episode, especially when it came to talking about the Thunderbird stats, and I know I disagreed with you and he who shall not be named. And I thought that was just a good back and forth, especially when it came back around in the rehash. Another one, it's farther down, I mean, after Jersey Devil and Chupacabra Goatman, Of course, Megaconda Dovarku is right behind it with 1 download away. Then you get the skunk.
It passed. Oh, that's all I care about.
One download.
As long as it's past it, I don't care anymore.
Then we have Skunk Ape versus Yeti, our Bigfoot versus Bigfoot fight, which is alright. Loch Ness Monster versus Oklahoma Octopus. Cringe. That's when the podcast got cringe for like
a whole
season, which ended up being like 3 or almost more than 3 months worth of content. And then we get down to another one of my favorites. Skinwalker versus Enfield Horror, which is top 10. I think, if I'm counting right.
The Winshuge and versus... Oh, what do you fight?
You're saying the Washuge?
Yeah, versus...
Makara.
That was a good one. I liked that one a lot.
Also, shout out to the people that listened to the Cryptids versus Caverns episode 0. It's getting close to our top 10, which is awesome, because that was a lot of fun to record.
That was.
It's not going to be possible to make another episode for that one. I mean, D&D would still be possible. It would just be...
start from scratch.
Yeah, we'd be starting over. So right now, I mean, unfortunately, it's just not on the radar of ever really coming back. Mm-hmm. Not for at least a long time. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of episodes here I'm proud of. Cryptid Mashup and Rehash episode 3. Our longest episode ever. Well, it was like 2 hours long. Justin came on.
Yeah.
That was right before the big hiatus. Mm-hmm. But that one was a lot of fun. The 1,000 download special, while not being one of our most popular episodes ever, was fun. Just because
it was
1,000 downloads.
Yeah.
I mean, we're almost at 3,000 now, which is fucking crazy. Because that was like, what, 6 months ago we were at 1,000 downloads, maybe a little more.
When did we hit that? We hit that...
It was 6...
I want to say June, right?
Yeah, it was... Well, I mean, I can look real quick. August 11th.
I think it was already... I think it was July,
well,
to be honest. That's when we had the episode.
That's right.
We hit it before.
Because this didn't come out until August 11th. Mm-hmm. So we would have recorded this a couple days before, because this was before I was on my new work schedule.
And it was also before that, because we also hit the 1,000 downloads before.
And there was like an episode or two that came out before we actually did this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did hit it in like June, July time. So that one was cool. I mean, it's just insane that we've come so far from doing this.
I liked that episode just of what we talked about. And we kind of treated it as like just talking about what we think about it and everything.
Yeah. Cryptid versus Cryptid Crate. That one is still one of my all-time favorite moments of the podcast. Cause
I liked those cryptids that we had fight too. That was a really good choice.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, just the opportunity to do that shit was fucking prime. That was like a podcast dream come true for me, personally. As much as it hurts, our second least popular episode, Bunyip versus Loveland Frogman.
Let's go.
That hurts
Bunyip
to see.
Bunyip is cool, fuck Frogman, he sucks.
And then our least popular episode right now, because it just came out 2 weeks ago, is Owlman versus Ratman. So it's still picking up steam before it really gets anywhere. But I mean, it's been... Oh, and then you can't forget Cryptid Mashup and Rehash number 2, which concluded the most cringe arc in Cryptid versus Cryptid history.
Hey, that should be a good episode for you guys.
I mean, it was. It was a great episode. Not only did my homie Loveland Frogman bring home the W, it ended that season, because at that point, I know we were all like, let's just get this over with, get back to what we were doing. Because we aren't just going to like cut the season short and not finish it off.
One of those ones where it was like, oh my god, I have so many ideas for the next season, but I can't do it because we're still on this
we're stuck
season.
Doing this fucking idea. Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. I can't believe it's been a year. And, you know, I listen to other podcasts and they talk about like, oh, thanks for the 10 million downloads we got this year. Which, you know, obviously one day that would be dope to hit a goal like that. But right now, just nearly 3,000 people have downloaded our podcast in the last year is fucking insane to me.
That says a lot of what we do, and it makes us really want to continue it.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I love cryptids. I know you love cryptids. We grew up listening to this shit, and to be able to express my enjoyment of this part of culture and stuff is really fun, and I really enjoyed it. I want to keep learning more. I mean, Hopefully by the time we do this next episode, we'll be able to finally get the setup for microphones I've been wanting in a long time, and things will hopefully turn around. But should we give any hint as to what the next episode's going to be?
I don't even know the next episode, so let's give a hint.
Fuck. It's the one that you wanted to talk about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we'll finally bring a fan favorite of mine, at least. I'll just say his name but he's been a fan favorite. He's not the coolest, but we will be bringing a Dover Demon in versus someone else. Yeah. Not in a typical battle either, because it's kind of hard to scale, but we will do something with them versus each other.
Definitely be one of the most different kind of battles we've had so far with the cryptids that we have in mind. The Dover Demon and another one.
Yeah.
But I think with that tease out of the way, this brings the Cryptid versus Cryptid 1 year anniversary to an end. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Later.
See you.